O'Shea and I have been kicking it strong for a minute now. O'Shea doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. O'Shea is a professional model.
Attitude like a young O'Shea with an AK.
Okay, don't you tell these motherfuckers that my name is O'Shea.
Mia X, she's one of the pioneers of female rap. A lot of people, when they put these top 5 of female rappers up, they exclude her from that list, or they don't give her the respect that I think she deserves. And I feel like, she doesn't get that credit because she's one of the pioneers. I mean, she was doing it, like you were saying, in the early 90s, the late 80s, early 90s, when females, it was hard as hell for them to get into the game. You know what I mean? So I think she don't get a lot of flowers and a lot of the credit that she deserves.
You know what it is? It's that thing, man. New York, of course. And I always give this analogy, man. New York is the father. The West Coast, that's the badass son. Always starting beef, always want, get into stuff, right? The Midwest is the son that's quiet and cool. But if you bother him and disrespect him, that's the worst thing you can ever do.
Right.
Right? The South is that younger son that just always thinking and always got to try to hustle his way through everything and work harder because the big brothers, the West and the Midwest, already on and already got things. And so I think even with female rap wise, even though you could put Mia right now, and I love some of the rappers I'm about to say, but they can't touch Mia. The only ones I feel could touch Mia probably was maybe a Latifah.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
And the rest of them, all of the Kims, who I love, man, the Brats, I love them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and Boss, who was out of Dallas, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and lyrically couldn't touch Mia. But Mia was a Southern artist. So she fell within that same, we up, but we were in, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And y'all down south. You get what I'm saying? And so I think she fell within that because Mia was so strong and she did bounce, but she was always a lyricist, a rapper, and she's so intelligent. But the thing is, man, it was a rule at No Limit, that a personal rule that I could talk about now. You did not want to go before Mia on the verse, because if you didn't handle your business, they're going to skip your part and go to her, because she's going to kill you. You didn't want to go after at all. I don't care who you was. You didn't want to go after, because when she dropped hers, it's over. I promise you, she stand next to 80% of the men that ever do this in the business. I will put her any day. I watch her walk around with tablets after tablets. She take it serious. When she coming there to work, if anybody was clowning, you stop. She didn't play that. She'd get on you. She really was a mother to us. And at the same time, she was raising us, making sure we was being men and keeping our mind right and being respectful to the women in our life. And she was being a mother. You know what I'm saying? But lyrically, I promise you, and it's not about the fact I love her with everything in me, I will put her up against anybody. Put a pen to the pad and sit in a room with her. I don't care who you are, all the way up to my favorites, who I consider the GOAT. Put in a room with him. And when they see her, whether it's Lil Wayne, who I consider one of the GOATs, Jay-Z, anybody that have been her, and I've seen her that's big, they stop and they bow because they know what's up. It's just she fell into that category being in the South and being on a label, a No Limit, that we didn't deal with a lot of people.
Right.
We didn't deal with the industry. So I think sometimes she got punished in the industry for being comfortable with us. You get what I'm saying?
Facts. Okay, so during the height of No Limit, you had you had a Southern classic with Life Insurance. That's one of the most memorable No Limit albums that they had out. So what was it like recording that album, and what was the energy around No Limit at that time?
Man, for me, man, what was scary, bro, I was afraid I was going to drop the ball because I'm different. I learned to rap on the East Coast, and so my dialect was South, but my style was more East Coast. And now you coming behind Bout It and all these albums and C album and, you know what I mean, and different albums that P put out, and it's like, and Mia and things like that. So it's like, we wasn't settling for nothing below number 5 on Billboard. You know what I'm saying? Really, there was nothing under number 1. And so, for me, I knew I was different. You know what I'm saying? I was different. And so it was kind of nerve wracking for me, man. And KL, you know, and Fiend, who I arguably feel like is one of the most talented dudes ever.
Facts.
You know, Fiend stayed in my Fiend stayed with me through my whole session. That's why you hear him a lot on there. Him and C. You know what I'm saying? And when I say C, Corey Miller, I don't like saying the other part because they hold his name against him, man. You know,
Facts,
free
man.
Corey Miller. But you know, but they stayed in there with me. Fiend was the type dude. If I turn around and look like I needed, had an open verse because we wrote for ourselves. We wasn't allowed to do that for each other. They didn't play that. You had to handle your business. But if that verse open, if it looked like it was just a little bit, he just pop up. I got up. You know, and then it was just talking to him a lot, so it was nerve-wracking for me because P was more or less like, oh, it's your time. You want it. It's your time. Go ahead. Do you. And do it the way you want to do it. Give me my 5 songs, my 5 type of title songs that I want, and the rest is all you. And you got 2 weeks to finish it. See, we didn't get 6-7 months like all the rest of them. You had 2 weeks to turn in at least 25 songs or your album wasn't coming out.
Shit.
So that means you had to shut the outside world out. Tell your family I love you. The money will be there for them. They'll be good. And you had to go to studio all day, all night. And we had like 4 rooms. And so you had different rooms. So if I did a song with your room, you say you a producer. I did a song with you. I could listen to it probably one time. And then boom, I'm going to the next room, the KL. And you pulling up a whole nother beat to get me ready. So when I come back around, it was like an assembly line. So that's how we did it.
Yeah, I can see that, man. And it's funny. It's funny that you say that. It's funny you say that because I was looking at your stats earlier. So your 2 albums with No Limit, the first one debuted at number 5, and then the second one debuted at number 1. And that's funny that you say that. It was either top 5, but mainly 1, and that's what you pulled off. So.
Man, it was seriously, bro. It was like an assembly line. I'm telling you, you wouldn't even get a chance for me and you to really sit and vibe to your song you just produced. I had to go next door. Then I leave him and go to Carlos. Then leave Carlos, go to Moby. Then leave Moby, go to Craig B. Then go to Odell. Then come back to you. Then you know what I'm saying. And then you will have some other stuff pulled up for me. You know what I'm saying. So it was like. We didn't really get to hear our album completely because we had so different rules where you didn't even take your stuff home with you to listen at night. They didn't want you to make a mistake, let anybody hear anything. So we didn't hear a lot of our stuff in full until, P was sending them out to, because they mixed everything. KL, and we ain't had professional people do it. They mixed everything. So he sent them out to California. And then you go out there with them, and they mixing everything, and then they get, mastered and stuff like that. And that really be the first time you really vibe to your album. Okay. And by then, you already had to run back. I had to always fly back because the next album by somebody else was starting.
Yeah, because I was just thinking here, you guys, you dropped, I think it was 97, between 96 and 97, there was something like 45 albums that got dropped. And then everybody was on everybody's album. So I definitely get that where there was the assembly line mentality, because you have to have that in order to pump out those type of units.
But it was a method though, bro. Now I'm gonna show you what I mean. And it was very calculating, bro. Dude was very smart, man. P was very smart. And it kills me when people try to say he's not a good businessman right now. And I laugh at him, right? I'm like, do you know how we really lock the game now? So, for instance, you was a big-time artist, right? P would look at everywhere you selling at and know your album coming out on, say, July 4th, right?
Right.
He know he's comparable to you. He's going to put his album out July 4th. So now, if you would have did 300,000 your first week, you might just do 200.
Right.
He gonna get 100, 150, right? But the next week when you think you gonna still be selling, he putting me out. Then the following week, he putting C out. So by the end of the month, it's 3 against 1. We're army. We gonna smother you. You will not see the light of day. And we know everywhere you sell at. If you sold in Indianapolis, we gonna spend more money in Indianapolis promoting in the streets than what you would.
Right.
So we knew when Puffy coming out. We knew if Jay was coming out. We knew everywhere they sold at. We knew if Scarface, my idol, was coming out. We knew all the cities they were strong in, and we sent people there to double and outwork their street team people, and deal with radio, and then we just put album after album out, and by the end of the month, we done smothered you.